Hi there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raad Life. I have a lady who's my guest today, Leisa Reid, who I've known for a little bit, and I think it's very appropriate to have her on right now as we enter in fully into like a phase two of reopening the economy and looking at where our lives are. We're not kind of hunkered down in that early phases where we're trying to get to some sort of normalcy in our lives, and we're fully in phase two, at least in the state of California, and we're hoping for phase three as soon as possible. But I wanted to just really take a look at sacred cows, ways that we have done things, opportunities, sort of skill set development. What are things that we should be doing right now if we haven't already started doing them? And what are some of the things that we should step away from? Lisa's company is Productive Learning. And so let me see if I can get Lisa on here. She's been doing it for about 7 years, and last week was 7 years. So I also want to hear about her journey. Lisa, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Good. So you're on some tropical beach somewhere. Is that what it is?
Yes, I'm in my helicopter.
Well, the sound quality is wonderful. I really appreciate you kind of like knocking out that motor noise. It's perfect. Uh, before I brought you on, I mentioned that we're experiencing like a phase two right now, fully I would say phase two, at least in the state of California, as far as reopening and trying to find some discover some sort of normalcy in our lives after almost 2 months of being really thrown for a loop, to say the least.
Oh yeah.
And we're hoping that we get out of phase two and into phase three. And it's really funny. It's like, what is phase three? I don't know. I'll have to look into it. Is there a phase four? Is there no phase four?
Seven? Where
is
are we
there phase
at?
seven? Where are we? Like they didn't tell us that we would be sequestered for this long. They kind of incrementally gave it to us every 2 weeks. So maybe there are other phases we just don't know about. It's like a computer game. I got to get to the next level before I find out there's more levels.
Exactly.
So, but there's that uncertainty that's going on right now with this. And I don't, kind of interesting for me is that this is the first time, at least in my 53 years of being on this planet, that I have experienced a genuinely global phenomenon. Like not one person is spared. The only people that are spared that are alive right now are people that are maybe too young to even realize this. But everybody from a high school, graduating class to people like I got a nephew that's going from middle school to on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like there's a total disruption to what they've been told was normal, what they're told was expected, right? Or they could expect and build kind of confidence is going to be, I'm going to go to sleep and tomorrow is going to still be the same. So all of that is gone. And understandably, a lot of people, even for information that's out there, are confused what to believe, what to trust.
Yeah.
Fear is a factor. You and I talked a little bit about that before. What are you, first of all, for those who don't know about you, please take a minute and give people a little background. And by the way, I did say congratulations on 7 years of being in business.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes. I'm Leisa Reid. I'm a speaker and trainer for Productive Learning. We just celebrated our 28th year in business. And I have been with the company for 7 years. I just celebrated my 7-year anniversary, which is really exciting. And what we do at Productive Learning, we are a collective of people who believe in facilitated self-inquiry, where there's such power in learning how to inquire within, like looking for the answers within, understanding our system, understanding what beliefs we've created in our past and how they show up in the present, and do they match what we want in the future, and really kind of, understanding that, excavating that, seeing, does this work for me anymore, and creating a consciousness. And facilitated, meaning we usually help people through workshop setting where we have a facilitator who helps to mirror back and ask questions to deepen a person's self-inquiry.
So Lisa, let me ask you something relevant to this, because some people would say, oh yeah, that's sort of almost like self-actualization or self-helping or all this stuff. I know it's different, but in some cases, those are people that are maybe conscious of the fact that they need this. In a lot of cases, people are not. People, if I are just kind of going on with their life, right? So
Right.
what do you think? What do you think that is? Like, is it just people are just too busy? They're just like head down and just push through. What causes people not to stop? I don't think I've ever asked this of anybody. Like, what causes people to not to stop and reevaluate? Because
I think it's sometimes we don't know. Like if you've never been exposed to anything as a human being, maybe it just wasn't something that came up in your household, or you never really found an interest. It just never fell in your lap. You're like, oh, I've never heard of that. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know my mind worked that way. It would make sense that you
interesting.
wouldn't maybe ask those questions. It's kind of like, how do you know what you don't know? But there's certainly a lot of people, especially now that we have so much information available to us. Each generation gets more and more savvy with the information available to them. We can start to go, oh yeah, that is interesting. It'll come up in, like, sometimes we freak out over something that isn't that big of a deal, and later we'll go, why was I so upset about that little thing? Like that reaction seemed a little out of balance for what just happened. And that's where that would be an example of, well, maybe there's something else I'm actually upset about. Maybe there's something else going on. How can I look at this differently? And developing those neural pathways to start opening up a different perspective can lead to a lot more happy results in our life, and deeper relationships, and more satisfaction in what you're actually doing, versus kind of the head down, this is what I'm dealt with, this is the world happening to me, and I'm just reacting to the world. It's like, ooh, bringing up that responsive skill, responsiveness, awareness, intentionality, consciousness. That's what we're really talking about,
So
and exercising that.
do you think? I mean, I've been saying this about the coronavirus thing. Again, we said it. It's a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
Nobody's really spared, right? I I've been saying to people that it actually also is a gift of two types. It gave us the gift of time
Mm-hmm.
and the gift of self-reflection. If
Mm-hmm.
should we choose to actually accept those
I'll
gifts?
add a third gift to there.
Okay,
I
go ahead.
think innovation. And we were
Well,
talking about that before, right?
right,
Like,
right.
yeah.
But I mean, I think with because it's interesting. You're right. Some people, it's almost like therapy too, right? Like some people, you may have not been in an environment where where therapy maybe was stigmatized, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe the benefits of going and talking to a third party, and to sort of having like almost that objective bouncing board was not really something that was instilled in you, and then you might find out later that it is actually helpful, and it becomes more of an empowerment tool to actually seek that kind of advice than something to be ashamed of having the need to. Like you understand that your vulnerability is not necessarily a weakness, et cetera, et cetera. So I totally can see that. Absolutely. The thing with this is, I think a lot of us are re-examining right now. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
us are questioning. A lot of us are, whether it's fear-based, whether originally, and you and I talked about this, may have started off or reacting to this pandemic as a bit more of a bunker mentality, which I think is understandable to a certain degree,
Mm-hmm.
even especially at the beginning. But then some people have grown past that, either out of necessity or maybe recognizing opportunity, into more of a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
can we talk about that a little bit? Like, what are you
Sure.
seeing out there? Yeah.
Well, here's a great example. I saw this post from a friend, and a lot of time, and actually this occurred for my daughter. Is she's 17, so she had a birthday during shelter in place, and so the kids did the drive by where they drove by and wished her happy birthday and honked the horns and had balloons and things like that. So that's now a new thing, right? This drive
Right.
by birthday party. And in another city, I'm not sure where it was, in somewhere in Southern California, this boy, teenager, started. He's a drummer, and so he started being hired as a drummer and kind of like master of ceremonies for these drive-by birthday parties. And he rides on his, like, those kind of hoverboard type skateboard things
Yeah.
while he's drumming, and he kind of like leads the drive-by birthday party, and it's amazing, right? So he has this whole thing, and I'm like, that would have never been a business. Like, it's the perfect example of, like, okay, here's an opportunity, what can I do, what skills do I have,
It's a
what's
person.
needed, and
It's a
just Go for it.
It's a personalized parade on demand,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, it is pretty much. And so I thought that was a great example of being able to adapt quickly. Like, I don't know if he has a website, a business card, or whatever. You know, he just saw a need and he said, I'm gonna go for it.
You know, I had somebody I interviewed just before Easter. They were in the events business, and their business was basically, I think they said Easter and Christmas. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it may have been Thanksgiving too,
Yeah.
or Halloween. Excuse me. And so they basically, their business was they were hired to do staging basically at malls for Easter, egg hunts and et cetera, whatever. And then this thing happens and their business just
Yeah.
went down the toilet. So young family, got a couple of kids, and they basically went from panic one after evening to coming up with an idea. Yeah, they already had the staging of the Easter, you know, with the bunny and the suit
Mm-hmm.
and all that 9 yards. So they started a picture, I think it was called picturemebunny.com or something like that. It basically, you send them a picture with a white background and they photoshopped you in with a bunny and
Perfect.
basically sent that out. And they had more orders than they could deal with in that period of time. And the thing about it is that now is they could do that for Mother's Day. They could do that for all kinds of
Yeah.
different things. So that's another revenue layer to their business, their physical business. Should we go back to the point where they basically are doing that, if there's even malls around, you know, at that
Mm-hmm.
point. But I found it very fascinating. Like, here was ingenuity out of necessity, you know,
Yes.
opportunity out of crisis. Um,
Yeah, at Productive Learning, like for 28 years, we've been doing live in-person workshops, right? Like, and that's something that we hold very dearly, and we see massive results from that. We see connection and just get so much positive feedback. So in December, we had talked about, okay, we want to create like a virtual workshop or some type of virtual model, in not replacing everything, but just like let's enter in.
another option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were working on that, you know, at our pace, that we, you know, no rush. But it was in the works. And then this hit, and the pedal went to the metal. And we were able to, when was it? Was it the end of March, or kind of like the third week of March, we launched our very first virtual workshop. And we were able to, we have half our clients are in Northern California and half are in Southern California. And we usually, you know, rent a hotel or have it at our own facility
Right.
or whatever. There's all these things that we need to do in person. And instead, we were able to take both groups and offer it to both, because we're online, and now they get to interact and meet each other and grow and learn from each other.
Right.
We're able to have people from out of state that we just didn't have that capacity unless someone flew in and those kind of things. So it's been really phenomenal to watch. We're just like, we're kind of at the halfway point right now, but doing videos and getting stuff up on software that we didn't ever use before. It's really amazing when you actually just put one foot in front of the other,
Mm-hmm.
what is possible.
Isn't it amazing? Also, I mean, I have been blown away by the speed by which people can pivot,
Yes.
because it took like no time at all. No time at all. I mean, even in terms of just call it response mode versus like maybe strategic mode, right? Or
Yes.
we as a globe responded so fast. It was crazy. I mean, other than, you know, like, it was one of the things I was saying on where everybody was basically distracted by the hoarding of toilet papers and paper towels.
Right.
All the webcams flew off the shelves of every
Yeah.
staple in town. There was like, you can't get a webcam, right? So I mean, you know,
Exactly.
within a week, like, all, you know, all
You have
these
to be
people,
ahead of the trend. You have
it
to
was
be
like,
really ahead.
boom, gone, like that. I was like, I can't even get myself another webcam. So, and you still can't, like, even today, like, if you can find one on like eBay, it's like 3 times the price and it's used or something.
Oh,
I mean, it's
geez.
like, it's amazing. So and you know, face masks is another one and all this stuff. I mean, I remember there was a moment there about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, where I was trying to broker people, put people together, and they're talking about like a minimum of $2 million for face mask orders,
Oh,
and you know, it was
geez.
just like insanity.
Mm-hmm.
So with that all being said, some people, I think it's a muscle. I mean, I think what you were saying is it's something that you have to exercise, something you have to cultivate, right?
Yes.
And you guys help people do that and have been
Mm-hmm.
for a while. I want to get back to the virtual situation because I have a couple questions for you, but
Mhm.
I want to ask the bigger question, which is some people are maybe more prone to think that way or to pivot that way quicker. Like
Mhm.
maybe it's you could say maybe it's part of their DNA, maybe it's part of their upbringing. Maybe they've had a hard life at certain points in their life, and it basically is now serving them well in sort of that instantaneous triage. I'm in that mode.
Mhm.
I was talking to somebody earlier today and talked about how, if you're of a certain age, you've experienced downturns before. So this is one more of something you've experienced before. It may be harder because you're older, but you've survived this. You can maybe be more uh, able to adjust because it's not a new thing. But some people may have been in business for 10 years. They may have never experienced this before.
Mhm.
2008 was 12 years ago. Like
Right.
that's a decade away from the last time we had a major situation. What do you think, or what would you suggest and advise to people that may be having a difficulty getting to that space? What to think some of the things they need to do before they can get to the point of so overwhelmed that they self-paralyze, basically?
Yeah, well, usually, with our primal responses, our fear signatures, our, you know, f- fight or flight are what we normally hear of, but we also have faint or freeze. And so, depending on what you're in, being aware of how you respond in those kind of situations is helpful. And then, how do you actually melt those fears away in the moment is a whole nother process, because you can change. You can be both. You can be all four at in
So
a
it's
given
so
moment.
it's so it's something you can learn to do. Like
Hmm.
you're right. Now
Yeah.
I've heard of fear and flight, but
Hmm.
what is faint or
Freeze would just be like, I
yeah,
don't know what to do. Like kind of how you said, like, I'm just stuck. I'm frozen. I don't know what to, that kind of a
okay.
freezing, if you can actually imagine someone freezing. Um, Faint would just be like, I just don't know. Like, I can't
The
think of
old the
anything,
old the old
just
fainting
like,
couch.
yeah, yeah. Kind of like, I can't. Um, and just knowing those things. But yes, there's ways to move through those. It's really about your own emotional management, your own emotional awareness. How resilient are you? You had mentioned there's people who, you know, do really well in these kind of situations. That's probably because they've had, like, whether it was 12 years ago during the economic downturn
Right.
or prior to that, they were used to living in an environment where they had to adapt quickly. Chaos maybe was more common, and you had to, be a scrapper and a
Yeah.
hustler and figure
Yeah.
it out,
Yeah.
where other people, maybe they had a stable, quiet, not a lot of changes, more consistency. And so when they're, what we call it, our cheese gets moved, like, who moved my cheese? It's like, wait, what? And it can throw them off. Everybody's different. And so I don't categorize, like, by, necessarily group. It's such an individual thing to know your own triggers, and where are you coming from? Like, are you coming from fear, or are you coming from faith, or like, where are you coming from in the situation? And being able to catch that for yourself is the skill to develop. Like, a lot of people don't really have a language for their own feelings. Like,
Right.
you could say, well, how are you feeling? I feel good. Well, that's not really a feeling. Like, what's underneath that? Like, if you're
It's not
stressed
it's not
about
really it's
something.
not really descriptive. It's more of a
Yeah.
label, right?
Yeah, it's not really an emotion. So knowing your own emotional habits, and then which ones do you want to utilize? So instead of your letting your emotions run you, of which they
Mhm.
do, they fuel our action. What emotions help you get to where you want to go? What emotions will get you there faster? How can you actually, what we call, we have a workshop called harnessing your motivation. Like, how do you harness your anger to get you to the next place? For me, it's my anxiety. Like, how do I harness my anxiety to
Yeah.
check, like, oh, I should check this. I should double check to make sure I did this thing, instead of worrying about it. Like, let me use it as a reminder. So,
Well, I think again, like what we're both saying is that this is something that it has to start with you owning your own sense of
yes.
space, your own mindset, your own headspace, and actually allowing yourself the idea that you may not have it all together and you may can get it to be better, better serve you individually. And again, it's like you said, it's not a one size fits all. I mean, I think it's as unique and individual as everybody else. So let me just step back. You've been at productive learning for 7 years.
Right.
So what made you go down this path? Is it something that you were doing before, as far as helping people kind of develop the skills or develop personal capabilities, or identify even some of the blockages that they may have? Or is it something that you were doing something completely different and then went into this? And how has it been over the last 7 years?
Great questions. And there's a lot of answers in all those questions. I will say that I was raised in a family with my dad was a hypnotherapist.
Okay.
So I was privy to many conversations around the dinner table and just in my own childhood and life that were very positive in terms of understanding that your thinking is very powerful.
Yep.
And that you have more capability over your own world than one might realize. Yeah. So that was just my childhood foundation and teenage foundation. And then in college, I studied speech communication. I got my bachelor's and master's in that. So I knew that I was really interested in like the human dynamic and people talking to each other and human behavior. I took a lot of sociology classes and
Right.
minored in counseling. So there was all this interest in human interaction. Most of my career was in higher education, business ownership, things like that over the years. And around my late 30s is when I took my first workshop at Productive Learning. At the time, I was the director of admissions at a university.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a different field, but managing people and sales and
Right.
things like that. And then I took it, a friend of mine recommended it, someone who I work with now, who I still work with. He recommended this workshop, and I would do a lot of self-study. I was always fascinated with, reading books and, taking workshops here and there. But, I've gone to therapy, things like that. I just found that interesting, always wanting to, reach my potential. But this workshop really hit me from a different direction. It was like, oh, this is showing me things that I've been hiding from myself. Wow. Like you can't get that from reading a book because you're always hiding, you've got your blind spots, right? So that's when it was a game changer for me.
That brutal self-inventory is a killer, right?
Yes.
You have to really be gutsy enough to
You
look
do.
at yourself in the mirror
Pull
beyond
that
the
rug,
glass.
yeah, pull that rug
Oh
over.
yeah. No,
And,
I tell people it's not I'm not taking it lightly when I sort of suggest that people go there, but it's like if I had to visualize awareness, like when you get that first full on whoosh of awareness, it's like somebody turns on a light.
yes.
And then you look around and you're really warmed by that light and you feel good about that light, and it's you've all of a sudden like you're owning this space around you in a different manner. And then over time, you realize, oh my God, this is like a full-time job being this aware. Can I get some ignorance is bliss, please? And you start looking around for that switch that got turned on,
Yeah.
and somebody had plastered over it, and you can't find it. Like So, but it requires you to take that initial step of genuinely looking at yourself. So, like you're saying, you took your first class, and you're like, oh. It's all this stuff that I've been hiding from myself. So what was that? What was that like? What was that like for you?
It all clicked, and it all clicked when I realized kind of some of the core stuff that I had. People talk about like limiting beliefs and things like that. We all have beliefs that we create. We have more than one, but knowing your own and where it came from is where then you can start to have the right conversation with yourself as you're approached with anything, something COVID-19 and all the things that we're dealing with. You're like, oh, I know that this triggers my insecurity because I tend to go there when I feel, when things change and I feel uncertain. So I'm noticing these feelings, and I'm noticing that when I do this, then I go and I kind of want to attack, or I want to shelter, or I want to whatever your normal things are, you want to know that. So then you go, okay, like we just look around here. The ground is solid under, this is stuff that I would do. The ground is solid under my feet. I'm here. I'm safe. I have a roof. I have food. I have people who love, whatever it is that you need to do to calm yourself down. But being able to have that right conversation with yourself is key. It's not a one size fits all. So that's where it starts to get really powerful. And you're right. It's so courageous to me to look at this. Is not those feelings, those experiences, and those beliefs that we have. That's not stuff we're posting on Facebook, right?
Right.
This isn't like the stuff we want to
No,
air
no, it's
in the
not.
world.
It's not the highlight
Yeah,
reel.
it's the stuff we've been hiding from or
Right.
avoiding or covering over or whatever. And it can hurt sometimes, but it's not as painful as not dealing with it for decades, which is what a lot of people do. So I always say, like, let's just get in there, get the splinter out. Like, okay, are you willing to feel uncomfortable for a couple minutes? You know, okay, so you might cry. Maybe you won't. I don't know. We don't know what it's going to be like, but let's look. Let's
Well, and it may not. It may
start to
not go.
investigate.
It may not go away either. It's about, like you
No,
said,
no, no, no.
it's identifying the triggers.
Yeah.
It's identifying your reaction patterns to those triggers, and then basically asking yourself if there's an alternative to that, that now with that knowledge you are empowered to basically choose.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you can do that, then you have a little bit more say so in what your outcomes are,
Yeah.
versus you just basically are, it's a causality situation.
Yeah, it's
It's a
like a
cause and
game
effect.
changer. Yeah,
Right.
like we had a whole year, or I took a I participated in this one, but is it called Conscious Choices, where it's like, how conscious are your choices that you're making?
Hmm.
Probably not very conscious. Most people know we think that we're making conscious choices. We're not. That's okay. But where do you want to see change? How can you bring, just like what you're saying, like how can you bring more intentionality and consciousness to each choice that you make
Right.
that's going to get you closer to where you want to go, instead of the excuses that, are keeping you from the thing. Like we could just get really attached to our excuses. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, I
Well,
wish I could, but I can't,
yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
thing.
self justifications, arguing for limitations.
Yeah.
Part of it is baggage that you have accumulated along the way. Part of it is deeper than that.
Yeah.
But again, taking that look. I mean, here's the thing: you can always take a look and then ignore everything you find. Like
Sure.
you have that ability, but that's usually not what happens.
Right.
Um, so it's understandable that in mass we have this thing going on right now where people are uncertain. They don't
Yes.
know what information to trust. They don't trust themselves even filtering that information correctly. Their decisions are, if they're in a family environment, they have kids and whatever, their decisions are not solely about themselves, it's about other people around them.
Mhm.
Do I shelter? Do I not shelter? Do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? Who do I believe? Who do I believe? At the end of the day, it comes down to me having to process all this stuff. Do I have the skill set to process correctly? I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty out there, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what have you guys been experiencing during the last couple of months at Productive Learning? Like, are you seeing a shift or a difference in what people are seeking assistance with?
Um, I I can just say I'm really honored to be surrounded with, and involved with our clients, because we are able to see how they're able to adapt quicker and easier than, let's just say, most of the mass public, right? Where it's like, oh, wow, I noticed that I really got triggered by something, going
Mhm.
to the grocery store and somebody wasn't wearing the mask or was wearing the mask, whatever we get triggered by.
Yeah, I had a reaction to that.
Yeah, I had a reaction to something. And they're able to own that and go like, okay, what's that about? Am I safe? Oh, what's in my hands to control?
Hmm.
What's out of my hands to control? Where do I have influence? How do I want to go from here? Just like what you were saying, where it's like really like being able to pause it. And this is like microseconds. It's just, it's quick. Like, ooh, I caught that. Interesting. How do I want to play now? How do I want to move forward? Got it. Okay. I can see why I'm upset, and now I'm going to make a different choice, or I'm going to get out of this situation, or I'm going to, say what
Right.
I need in the
Yeah.
situation. And we see that so I'm lucky because I'm surrounded by people who are pretty good at this stuff. And that's a very pleasurable place to be, versus people who are like being mean to people and attacking
Right.
people
Right.
like, for having a different opinion. And that's
Well,
tricky.
it's having a heightened awareness. I mean, I find that for me, the aim, the goal, is to, and this is in all things, not just in terms of crisis, but even when you experience something, when you're going through something that happens, the ultimate is to basically have a sense of that you just experienced that as close to the moment of experience as possible, because that's really where right now I'm at. Like I'm aware of certain things, but then if I'm actually conscious of them right after they happen, or even better, while they're happening,
Yeah.
then I mean that then you are owning your own space. Then you
Yes.
are now. What you may still make a bad decision, but you're consciously aware
Yeah.
of what's taking place. And some people may label that as intuitively, or serendipity, or something happened that just something's going on here. I don't understand what this is. Those are real feelings. Those are real connections and awarenesses. And it definitely, I think what you're saying is that people that have developed those skill sets prior to this crisis, they're able to navigate better and maybe make some of these decisions that are critical in their lives right now, because they have the benefit of that.
Yeah, I had, for an example, someone had shared that they were due to the COVID-19, they were in a situation where customers were really berating, and it was pretty heightened aggressiveness. And so we were able to talk through that and see, like, okay, how do you want to handle that? We're going to assume it's going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's already happened, like last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever. So let's assume that's probably going to occur. You're going to get another call that, someone is
Right.
hostile. How do you, knowing who you are, want to show up for that? And how can you safeguard as much as possible the experience you want to have when that is in front of you, versus getting sucked into the person's hostility? How can you, and what's cool about that is that you can plan for, and sometimes we can't plan for things, but if you kind of like, here's my game plan. If someone's going to be yelling at me, but I'm trying to help them. Here's the experience I really want to have. How can I play in that conversation? What influence do I have in that conversation when I'm coming from this place, versus being reactive and just like, oh, this person's so mean and whatever. It's like, oh, it's a whole different game.
Well, and that's the word, right? Because at the ultimate situation here with that sense of self or self-awareness, if you develop it, and it's an ongoing thing. It's not. I don't think it's something that you do and you go, okay, I just graduated. I think it's an ongoing thing, right?
Yes, it's a lifestyle.
I mean, you're it is. I think that's a very good way of putting it. So yeah, it's a lifestyle, and it's a choice. Like you have to choose that this is how I want to basically live my life. I want to live my life with awareness.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit that ignorance is bliss sometimes, but it's also
I
it's
hear
not
ya.
right. And but living life with awareness is a choice. And if you do that, it's not really about anybody else. It's about how you're living your life, how you're dealing with stuff, and it's you and like empowerment through surrender on some things. Not being reactive, but being aware what triggers you is a must if you're going to basically try to control not being reactive.
Sure.
And you're right. I mean, this situation that you're describing, I could, without knowing the details, I'm sure will reoccur and rehappen. And most businesses out there that are dealing with the public will probably face some form of it or the other in the next few months at least. And how do you diffuse that situation? How do you maintain your brand integrity in the process, your business, position in the market? I mean, those are really how you deal with that situation could have, rippling effect ramifications on your business.
Absolutely.
So it's not just that, it happened down the street on the corner. I mean, it really could. I mean, there's some recent examples that happened here in South Orange County, like where because of the way that the person responded, the community basically shunned them. I mean, it's like, well, I'm not frequenting your business because of the way that you decided to deal with this thing. And it was, I am sure, a reaction versus they had a game plan of how they were going to deal with it.
Right. Yeah. And us jumping to conclusions and not getting the whole story. And what is it? What's that called now, where we cancel people, or
we ghost people. We
cancel nation or something.
We block them. We eliminate them from our sphere. because we have the power, you know?
Yeah, and
So,
so it's like being able to have a conversation of like, let me
yeah.
understand, and I don't know what situation you're talking about, so I'm not on the
Oh,
inside of that, but
it was a brick and mortar where the
yeah,
person basically, you know, there was some guidelines on distancing and so forth, and they decided that they were going to act like they were overwhelmed by the situation, and so they didn't reinforce them. And of course, the rest of the community basically distant, you know, what do they call that thing? Um, distant shaming. They distance shamed them,
oh wow,
and the distance shaming was genuinely impacting to their bottom line because
yeah,
people
that's
said,
tough.
"Well, I'm just not going to farm. I'm not going to frequent your business
Yeah, that's
because
tough.
you did not support what I perceive to be the way that you should handle public safety."
Yeah,
And so there's some real reactions
yeah,
to this, right?
definitely,
And it's a
definitely.
no-win because you get shunned from the other side as well if you know.
Yes.
So it's a real reality that we're living in as business people right now.
Yeah, so
Um,
I encourage, just if we can, I think there was this really great thing on there where it was whatever the scenarios of that, the opinion of the person is like, be kind, like just, you
yeah,
know, someone does this, be kind. If someone does that, be kind. Like, and I know that there's so many people out there who are doing that, and I so appreciate
and that's just
that
that takes strength.
stance.
I mean, that's
Yes.
courageous and strength
Yeah.
in that. You know, the other thing is I found people who have shared stories with me about how they've managed situations like that. We're just continuous, consistent education. That's the other thing that we're suffering from right now is inconsistency of information.
Correct. Correct.
So, you know, if you stand for something and you're consistent about it and you know yourself, you know your headspace, you're putting that out there and you can support it and defend it, then people eventually will accept that that's your reality and that they will respect that. And but you got to again kind of own that space, and it's tough in a volatile, you know, situation like we're dealing with where things are changing. I mean, like I said, is it phase 2, is it phase 3, what phase is it in now, you know? um, so what are some, let's talk about what productive learning has specifically
Mhm.
as far as programs and offerings and things that people could basically benefit from.
Well, I definitely want to make sure your listeners get access to something that I think will really help during this time. And if they go to productivelearning.com/gift, they're going to get access to a step-by-step goal setting um, format that really helps you to bite-size down any goal that you have. Because just like we were talking earlier, we can think, oh, I have all this that I need to do and it's too much and I'm
It's
overwhelmed.
overwhelming.
How do I even start? And so there's this really great process of just going step by step by step by step. So if someone out there is listening and they're really like, I definitely need that. I definitely want that protocol. Just grab it. And that's at productivelearning.com/gift. So you can get that. And that's at no cost to you. And then if we're also rolling out another complimentary course that once that's ready, then you'll get access to that as well, which has got some really powerful models in there for anyone just supporting exactly what we've been talking about. So those are some of the things we're working on behind the scenes. We're currently in the middle of our virtual workshop called Anxiety to Empowerment, which is a workshop we've been leading for many years, but just happened to be perfectly aligned.
It takes on a different meaning, right?
It sure does. It sure does. And that's been very powerful. And we have another workshop coming up in a couple weeks called Productive Communication. That's one that we've led for many years as well. And really like understanding the intent behind someone's communication. So we have all different kinds of things. They're on productivelearning.com. And, you know, we're seeing how we can bring in virtual support to our current clients, and then to anyone new. We're developing a virtual online program so that people can get the work and get the growth that they want
Right.
during this time, and not having to concern themselves with making a decision if they're going to be in with people or not, because we know we're in this you know, we're in this kind of halfway space right now. And
Yeah,
how
but
yeah.
you know the thing that I'm reminded of here too is sometimes when you seek, well, I guess everybody's different, but like let's say like generalizations here. If people seek assistance and help when they're having difficulty, or they've gone through
Mhm.
some sort of milestone, like you know they're dealing with a divorce, the death of a parent, you know, whatever, accident, change of physical capabilities. I mean, they tend to basically, it's almost like a cliche. It's all these movies where somebody basically, gets into a accident and a car accident, and all of a sudden now they're actually looking at their lives through different filters, blah, blah. We are actually in a situation right now where we have that sort of stimulant because of the uncertainty around us, right? And yet the quickest way to get a sense of control is actually to look into things like this, developing skill sets of this nature, right? To feel self-empowered, to basically take on not only what is currently your reality, but what could be your future opportunity, or by knowing more, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And again, the website for anybody who's interested is productivelearning.com. And Leisa, that was really a generous thank you for sharing that, productivelearning.com/gift.
Yes.
For people, I urge you guys to go look into that. What are some of the things that you, a self-actualized person, okay, with heightened awareness.
I don't know if I'm quite there yet, but I'm working towards it.
Well, I think that is the ultimate definition of a self-actualized person, is the person who admits that they're not there yet because it's an ongoing process.
Yes.
So, but for somebody that's like, what are some of the things you personally have experienced during this? Give us a little insight.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I just used the tools that I already had anyway. It's just, I've noticed that just like any of the listeners out there, and you probably have these too, I have my certain excuses that will come up. And one of my favorite ones is I don't have time to do this, or I'm so busy. I don't, I just wish I could, but I can't, kind of thing. And so I noticed that there were some things that I wasn't doing, even though I have more time allotted in my schedule when shelter in place started happening. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm using the same excuse, yet it's not true. I do have more time. I'm not driving anywhere. So I'm already like, have all the time saved that I would be driving somewhere is now allotted to whatever I want to do. So I noticed that even within myself, that my own excuses, my regular friends, would come up and I heard that. I thought, oh, well, that is so funny. I had to laugh at myself because I was using the same excuse, although it clearly did not apply. So I just thought, so that would be a tip. I would say, like, listen to the excuses you're telling other people and yourself, because we don't just say it out loud to someone else. We say it to ourselves. So listen. What are you saying? You know what I mean? Like, what, and then you're able to dismantle that. Is that true? Like, do I really not have time? And it's like, no, that's not true at all.
That's a I would bet you is a pretty common one for people. I mean, one of the most fascinating things I have heard from people, as far as realizations, is people that are actually questioning why they were running so fast, why they were moving so quickly, why their lives was so filled with stuff that obviously was not that essential.
Yes.
And there was an idea, there was a concept that came out of a conversation yesterday, which was kind of fascinating, starting to take on a little bit more of a wider application for me. But I was talking to a gentleman, and we touched on the idea of escapism versus essentialism, and how, and when you think about escapism, it really is everything. I mean, we escape into our work, we escape into our being busy, we escape into taking a vacation, we escape into hobbies. Like we have all these escapes, and some of them are genuinely bona fide escapes that help us recalibrate and reoperate in reality. And in some cases, those escapes basically just, no, I feel comfortable in here. I don't want to really come back out of this escape. I'm good in this bubble right now.
Yeah, it's kind of the functional and the dysfunctional. When does it
where's
tip
the
over?
line?
And where's the line? Yeah.
And I think that's what that kind of the interesting conversation, like when I said it's getting wider, is where's that sweet spot? Where's that situation? And in this particular case, we're talking about, we were touching on sort of hospitality and places that offer that escapism, like spa industry, hotels, destination travel. And the fact that now, after about 60 days or so of I mean, you cannot escape from yourself. Heck, you can escape from the family members that are around you. Like like you wish you can, right? But I think what's interesting is there may have actually been a mass behavior, like paradigm shift in behavioral pattern for people. And I think
Hmm.
we may come out of this evaluating necessities and priorities, also an overused word, but evaluating them differently.
Yeah.
Like what is your level of satisfaction? How do you define it?
Right.
What is really the definition of status for you? You know,
Yeah, I think that you're right that people will shift around their priorities a little bit and go like, oh, you know what, actually, I think more than likely a lot of people will shift where they work, whether it's more at home
how they
or
work
yeah,
exactly.
how they uh, what what they think they need to do in terms of productivity. Maybe they're able to get what they need done in less time and have that family time or that self-care time,
Right.
whatever, more easily than they originally thought.
It's That's funny, right? Because I mean that's sort of a byproduct of this that's potentially positive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think there's lots of silver linings, and it's healthy to look for the silver linings, especially as we get faced with so many headlines and certainly some troubling news for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we all have had different challenges in different ways with this, some more traumatic than others. But if we can continue to look for the silver linings and continue innovating and being adaptable. I think it was they were talking about Darwin. It doesn't say it's survival of the fittest. It was really the survival of who can adapt the quickest. And what you were saying earlier is it's like, yeah, you got to like make a move. No more waiting to see what's going to happen. We do have a lot of uncertainty, but certainty is a myth anyway.
Right.
There's no certainty
No.
at all. It's just an illusion.
Yeah, it's a story we tell ourselves to feel like we have some sort of control in a
Absolutely.
situation where we really don't have control. And as you know, as they say, the old cliche goes, the only change, only constant is change.
Yeah.
It's very true. And the question is, it's kind of interesting because if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, you kind of know this. You know that you're kind of almost not only challenged but excited about the fact that you're going to be challenged,
Yeah.
right? And some way kind of testing your mettle in a way, and seeing whether you can achieve under changing circumstances. And nothing more boring than consistency, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's finding that line of like where are you functional
Right.
again, but the functional, dysfunctional, too much consistency, not enough. Where does that line?
And that's a personal definition for everybody. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like it's almost like the level of risk that you're willing to take, right? It changes over time
absolutely.
in life. It changes depending on age. It changes based on what other responsibilities you have. But the cool thing about this conversation, I think, is we're telling people that it is something that you can achieve. It's not something that you either have
You can learn
or
it.
you
Yes.
don't. You can learn it, and there are
Mhm.
places where you can go that I would almost say it's exciting to basically explore the depth of what your capabilities are, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, one of them is obviously productive learning. Lisa, thank you so much for taking time today
Thank
to
you,
to,
Rad.
to share that. I again, congratulations and happy anniversary on 7 years
Thank you.
at
Thank you very
productive
much.
learning, and I will definitely check out that. For anybody who's listening to this, again, productivelearning.com. And you can basically look at productivedonor.com/gift for Lisa's gift. I mean, I feel it's like it's wrong. You're the one celebrating 7 year anniversary, and you're the one giving gifts out. But
Well, that makes it really fun.
so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the kind of person Lisa is. So thank you, my friend, for being on with me, and keep your head down and keep doing the good work. I will check in with
Absolutely.
you, and we'll see where this goes.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye.